Well, yes, indeed. They're well said, guys. So let's just go right ahead and take you through some of the dailies. And we're going to start with Vanguard newspaper here today. They're focusing on budget matters this morning. So take a look at that. Tinubu's new $8.6 billion loan bid takes debt above $51.759 billion. Wow. Okay. That certainly is going to be a huge one here. So the rider, the first of which says requests part of 2022-2024 external borrowing plan for critical infrastructure. President to present 2024 appropriation bill to joint session of NAS today. Total domestic debt as at June 54.130 trillion naira. Analysts, experts seek proper utilization, accountability. Don't we all? It's not just analysts and experts. It's been a talk for ages. So, and then it's possible to grow $1 trillion economy in 10 years, Tinubu. But the question is, will we? In spite of all. And then about the judiciary, just right beside that one. Controversial judgments. Will do our best to reform justice sector, ascribed to the Attorney General of the Federation. So we've got a lot more on the front page here, but that is it for Vanguard today.
Well, Nigerian Tribune is leading with a story from Ondo State, the controversy over the health of the current governor of the state. Governor Akeredolu is still very much in the news. And look at this. Aida Tewa, Ondo Speaker, reveals details of deal brokered by Tinubu. Highlights how Deputy Governor will sign undated resignation letter to be submitted to President. Says he remains Ondo Deputy Governor. Impeachment proceedings halted. Take actions forestall further crisis over Akeredolu's absence. Ondo Incidents, writes PJ. So it is a really very sad situation happening in Ondo State. What ought to be a pretty straightforward matter looks to be getting rather convoluted, and it's happening in a state where the governor is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Pages 2 and 13 will give you details of what that is. Ondo Speaker reveals details of deal brokered by Tinubu. You have a number of other stories right there. Tinubu seeks NAS approval for $8.6 billion, 100 million euros, 2022-2024 borrowing plan. Niger Republic, northern senators ask ECOWAS to lift sanctions, urge Tinubu to restore electricity supply. Task military junta to roll out transition plan, release Bazoum. So it's a two-sided thing that the northern senators are asking for right there. But obviously it does appear that the restrictions or the sanctions being put on Niger are having an adverse effect on the northern part of Nigeria. Well, they have a number of other stories there, but we'll have to leave it there for Nigerian Tribune.
Our attention next to daily independent newspapers this morning, which takes us back to where we started from, about electoral reforms. And listen to this one. We must prescribe cross-carpeting, unbundle INEC, as subscribed to Jega, former INEC chair. There are just two riders. Stakeholders urge more reforms in 2022 Electoral Act. NAS committed to reforms, INEC's independence, and that's ascribed to the Senate President Akpabio, who was represented at the event yesterday. There's this one also. We can't make Aida Datiwa acting governor. That's ascribed to the Ondo Assembly, of course, the Speaker, which Mark portrayed earlier. And right under that one is also another issue about elections. It's a revelation, actually. Tech deployed in vote buying during Kogi Imo Bielsa polls that's ascribed to Next Year. I believe that's a poll conducting
Tech was deployed.
Tech deployed in vote buying during Kogi Imo Bielsa polls.
So that's what's e-fraud or e-election manipulation or e-vote, whatever.
Well, will this be investigated? Is anyone paying attention?
Well, we are raising the issues and we do hope that they are followed up. We will keep our eyes on it, so hey.
And, take a closer look at what Next Year has.
Absolutely.
And just one more story before we exit Daily Independent. Senate rejects bill seeking parties to replace dead elected officials. Let's leave it there for Daily Independent.
Emefiele fails to meet 300 million naira bill condition to remain in Kuje prison. That's how This Nigeria leads this morning. Alleged 1.6 billion naira fraud case adjourned till next year. That's January. So there you have it, the big story for you. And of course, the story about the $1 trillion economy in 10 years, it's also there. And it's coming from the president. That's the target he said, actually, $1 trillion economy in 10 years. And, well, I believe we're in the first year of that 10 years. So I think we might be able to judge from what this government is able to achieve this year. At least we may be able to project for the next 9 years or thereabouts. I'll take a look at this one. Northern senators give Nigerian coupists 2 years to restore democratic rule. So that's it with that one. And just one more. And I think this I hope it might change the mind of someone this morning. Don't attempt hard drugs. It's difficult to stop, says suicide survivor. That's over there for the paper.
Business Day. 2024 budget exposes Nigeria is a rich country myth. Oh, okay. If you didn't check that well, you'd have thought, oh, okay. So it's a big story on the front page of Business Day this morning. 2024 budget exposes, quote, Nigeria is a rich country myth. So, when you see this headline, and then you juxtapose it with the way and manner with which the public officials, manage public funds. So if they plugged all the loopholes, all of those areas where you see monies or public funds not being utilized properly, wouldn't we be saving a huge chunk? Or even in states or at the federal level, where if the budget is actually utilized for what it's meant for, and then we remove all of these recurring matters, you buy kitchen plates every election, every year. So if you deliberately break all the ones you have before, whoever leaves takes, it's look, these line items too, going through all of them with fine-tooth comb is really important. Because if we do, this Nigeria rich country myth might take a different dimension. Never know.
I think what really should happen is that our legislators and our members of our Federal Executive Council, ministers, etc., and even PermSecs, everybody needs to live like we're not exactly a rich country. They need
that would be the day.
They need to spend like we're not a rich country. Their cars need to reflect the fact that we're not a rich country. You cannot believe in a certain way. And then, when you look at their cars relative to cars that the average Nigerian owns, you now have to ask, please, who is serving who? A very big question. So, yes, when you look at how much we make relative to how many of us there are, we're not exactly a rich country if you divide it per head. But what is happening is that some people are taking a huge chunk of that. A huge chunk of it is going to service a very tiny minority, and the rest of us now have to deal with peanuts. Oh, it's really very sad. Take a look at what the Nigerian Observer has here for you. Tinubu seeks Senate's approval for fresh $8.6 billion, 100 million euro loan. That's the lead story on the front page of the Nigerian Observer right there. Federal government funding inadequate for education, says UBEC, or UBEC scribe, as 45 million children strain scheme. So we're producing a lot of children. We have this universal basic education, and it doesn't look like we're providing as much for that particular scheme. Nigeria to spend 3.23 billion naira on baggage scanners in 5 airports. What about the scanners at the ports, at the seaports? Have they been purchased now? Are they working? If they have, big questions. But this is one we have for the Nigerian Observer. Right there on the front page. For 5 airports, they need to buy new baggage scanners. That's it there for the paper.
And turn next to Daily Trust newspaper this morning, which also trails on the new borrowing plan. Tinubu seeks fresh 7.1 trillion naira loans to fund agri, health, road, water sectors. Nigeria's debt hits 94 trillion naira. That's a record, 94 trillion naira. And the last of the writer says, rising debt profile worrisome, but must expand revenue base. That's ascribed to experts. I'm wondering where the debt management office is this morning. Let's go above, just underneath the nameplate, and take a look at some other stories. Kano election judgment disparity, erring judicial officers to be punished. That's the ascribed to the NJC. So there are erring judicial officers. The court registrar had, issued a statement telling us that it was a clerical error. So there are erring judicial officers.
Well, erring, clerical error.
Yeah, they're related.
Well, obviously, it's a derived word. So.
Well, a lot to think about. Airlines must pay compensation for cancelled, delayed flights. That's the federal government speaking this morning. Are we going to yawn and just turn over on our beds at hearing this one? Well, flights are delayed all the time.
Yeah.
And, airlines do not abide by the rules. According to some of the rules that we're even supposed to be giving
compensation or refreshment?
Refreshment while you're delayed.
That used to happen at some point.
Flights are delayed for 6 hours and nothing happens.
Nothing comes.
Nothing comes. And lastly, NSITF crisis fester despite Lalong's intervention. Panel deepens probe. Let's leave it there for Daily Trust.
And The Guardian has this one. After $3 billion crude deal, additional warns against resource-backed debts. It's a page 6 read. If you're wondering which of the additionals, you need to open the Guardian newspaper today for more details. But maybe the picture on the front page might give you a clue as to which. But just right at the bottom of the front page, Appeal Court affirms Fubara as Rivers governor, dismisses Cole others suit. So that's another update from Rivers State. I'll just take this one more for you. Subsidy removal has battered us with hardship pains, say pensioners.
It goes without saying.
It goes without saying. And I think we need to really focus on some of these vulnerable groups. Yes, literally everyone is not having it easy, but there are those who are having it even worse than others, and it's important to pay attention. Pensioners, one of them, and I do hope that we're not leaving them behind. Well, that's it with a look at the front pages this morning. We'll take a break now. When we return, we'll begin the major issues for the day. Stay with us.